Good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom, and we're broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on historic Market Street in the Gaffer District in Corning. I got a good feeling about this morning's show. We've got a lot to talk about. Yes, let's spend 2 hours talking about an interview with a presidential candidate. A historic interview, because not only, according to CNN, did it boost her momentum, it is also the first interview that she has given, and a not single interview by herself, because it was a joint interview, but first interview she has given since becoming not only the nominee, but even when it was the presumptive nominee, when Joe Biden dropped out of re-election and endorsed her for president. And that, of course, is Kamala Harris. We will be talking about it, and I joke it's not going to be the full 2 hours. We will be talking about it extensively. What did you think? A couple of your questions that you posed yesterday were asked. Fracking question. What would you do day one? We're going to get to all of it. Also, later on, we'll be talking to Linda and Crystal from Steuben's Senior Services Fund. We look forward to that. Quick reminder, I suppose I would say, but I don't think I brought it up yet. Monday is Labor Day, so you have to get all your comments in today, because we will not be in Monday. We'll be showing a repeat broadcast, or as they say in the news business, and I had a very helpful viewer remind me of this, I'll be away on assignment, as they say in the news business. So keep that in mind. Get all your comments in. Let's start with this, because school is about to begin. We may have teachers, upcoming students watching this morning. We learned from the Vermont Department of Health. This is out of Vermont, not out of New York, and I'm not sure why I'm bringing this up right off the jump, but I am. Nonetheless, the Vermont Department of Health is advising educators and families to forego the term son and daughter when speaking to students. In a Facebook post on Wednesday, the department suggested using what they refer to as, and I quote, inclusive language for families in the new school year. So just preparing you. I believe school starts on Tuesday for many students, many teachers. Equity in the classroom is an essential piece of a productive and healthy learning environment. The department advised using the terms child or kid instead of saying daughter or son, suggesting they are more gender-neutral words. Now, there's a right-wing, even Fox News calls them that, right-wing social media account called Libs of TikTok. And they're known for reposting far-left content that often entails LGBTQ themes, saying, yes, this is real. The Vermont Department of Health says to stop using the terms son and daughter in order to be more inclusive. Okay. Asked about the post, the Vermont Department of Health told Fox News that the guide was intended to encourage using inclusive language when you don't know someone's family situation. The state health department promotes a healthy equity glossary involving similar rhetoric on its website. The glossary defines gender as social, psychological, and or emotional traits often influenced by societal expectations that classify someone as a man, woman, a mixture of both, or neither, and says it is socially constructed. The site also defines internalized racism as a set of private beliefs, prejudice, and ideas that individuals have about the superiority of whites and the inferiority of people of color. The Vermont Health Department advised people working with students to use the terms child or kid. All right, there you go. The health department says the term white is a social and political rather than biological construct, and links to a 2016 video on, quote, the surprisingly racist history of Caucasian. All right. So starting your school year off with a bang. Actually, tying in with that, and we knew this was happening at a high school level. We had talked about it on the show, that this anti-Semitism that we're seeing on college campuses and in the streets, starting well before college. Listen to this. This is out of New York City. On Monday, a high school called Origins High School principal, Dara Kammerman, stepped down from her $170,000 per year position after turning a blind eye to horrific anti-Semitism at the Brooklyn school. Well, okay, good, you say. This is good. She stepped down because promoting this anti-Semitism, she should. As she resigned or stepped down, the superintendent, Michael Prayer, said she was a valuable member of the team. Now, why am I bringing this up? Because she got kicked upstairs, just like former Harvard and UPenn President Claudia Gay and Liz Mangiel, as administrators who were shuffled out of power after giving anti-Semites free rein, yet left sitting pretty good and cushy positions. Kammerman's tale is grisly. In July, Origins teacher Daniel Kaminsky and administrator Michael Bedry filed a lawsuit claiming they'd been retaliated against for bringing attention to students' vile Jew hatred. Kaminsky alleged students called her, well, I don't want to use the names, but vandalizing her classroom with swastikas, giving the Nazi salute. Pardon me, I have a little frog in my throat this morning. And Kammerman reportedly failed to bring the hammer down on teens who marched through the school chanting death to Israel and kill the Jews. Just weeks after Hamas's October 7th attack on Israel. We got the street cleaner going by, if you can hear that. Instead, the school seemingly punished Kaminsky, the person who exposed this anti-Semitism, transferring her to a position in Richmond Hill High School in Queens that was set to expire in 3 months and slapping her with a poor rating. Her supposed sin, or Baudry's supposed sin, was corroborating Kaminsky's report. Now, what we find is that the principal, Kammerman, remains on the Department of Education payroll, and it's just fresh proof of how hard it is to get fired in the DOE, Department of Education school system. Unbelievable, folks. We got a lot to talk about. That was just a couple quick kind of out there stories. Harris has vowed to be tougher on her approach to migrants and now supports weapons for Israel. That was just a few takeaways. The media, I think, has again proved that they are going to do anything to get her across the finish line, and we will talk about that. What did you personally think? Because you are the actual commentators, pundits. But we're going to talk about what CNN thinks as a takeaway. We're going to talk about some of the media coverage, what former President Trump had to say. Again, yes, we are going to focus a lot of time this morning on one interview from a presidential candidate. Now, normally that type of time block would be saved for a presidential candidate that made a big mistake or said something outrageous. Nope, this is just the fact. The newsworthy fact is that the candidate for president of the United States on the Democratic line gave an interview with her running mate. So it was a joint interview. And it is newsmaking, but also groundbreaking and historic. So we will talk about that. I see some comments coming in, some waves. We're already up to 4 waves, and we're just 10 minutes in. But what were your takeaways? We're going to look at key lines according to CNN, takeaways from CNN, what some of the pundits had to say. I will preface this by saying we're not going to spend the whole show on the interview. We do have a few things here about Trump's campaign. What did you think about J.D. Vance's, that's another 2 waves right there. What do you think about J.D. Vance's speech in front of the Firemen's Union where he was booed? I watched the speech. I thought it was an effective, powerful speech, but I'd like to get your opinion on that as well. So we're just getting started, just getting warmed up. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Hesselson's Hot Spring Hot Tub Sales Event is going on now. New technology, cleaner water, easy to use, hot water made simple. Hesselson's, your locally owned and operated hot spring hot tub store since 1955, is offering huge incentives on their saltwater hot tubs. Deluxe lifters and steps, Bluetooth music, freshwater IQ, plus 0% interest-free financing options. Come to Hesselson's today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's Hot Spring saltwater hot tub. Remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Some who need Social Security disability benefits go to their hearing alone and get turned down. Not every lawyer will appeal a denial after your hearing. I will. I'm Peter Gorton of Lockman & Gorton. I help people win benefits by appealing their denials, including in federal court. But your time to appeal is limited, so call my office now.
Lockman & Gorton, 1-800-698-0567.
Attention care beneficiaries. This is an important message for people on Medicare. Today we are talking about Medicare Advantage plans. If you're new to Medicare, moving or losing coverage, and don't have a Medicare Advantage Part C plan, call now because there may be a Medicare Part C plan with additional benefits available in your zip code. You can call now to find out if you're eligible to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan with additional benefits. Just call 800-351-6177 and a licensed insurance agent can look up your eligibility and plan options and see if you're eligible to enroll in a Medicare Part C plan that could save money or include additional benefits. Don't wait. You are not automatically enrolled in a Part C plan with additional benefits. If you're new to Medicare, moving or losing coverage, call for your free, no-obligation Medicare benefits review. You won't know what plan options are available to you unless you call, so call now. The call is free. Call 800-351-6177. 800-351-6177.
The Bix website is here now. WYDCTV.com. Local and national news that keeps you informed and involved. WYDCTV.com. Today's weather, up to date and in your town. WYDCTV.com. Sports news, local events, and health stories that affect you. WYDCTV.com. The Big Fox website. Your news here now. WYDCTV.com.
And we are back. Broadcasting live, from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Thank you so much for joining us. A couple comments from viewers. Anyone who complies with this nonsense deserves what they get. And that's in reference to the Vermont Department of Health urging everyone to replace son and daughter with gender-neutral terms. And this from the health department, more insanity. Yes, absolutely. Thank you, viewer. Next up, good morning, Frank. Good morning. One question to ask anyone and everyone, okay? We're going to post this right now to anyone and everyone. The one thing we are taught about having a conversation is to make and keep eye contact. It shows not only respect, but confidence. Do you trust someone that is incapable of doing such? That is exactly how Harris's interview was. Do you trust her when she didn't give any details again either? Yeah, there was a lot of flip-flopping. Drudge Report, who has gone, I don't know if you're familiar with Drudge Report, kind of has a long history. They're the ones that broke the Monica Lewinsky story when mainstream media would refuse to talk about it. Anyway, you don't need to know the history. He seemed to go, Matt Drudge, very anti-Trump. And his headline is that she races to the middle, that she's going moderate. Let's look at the takeaways from CNN's interview. So again, back to that viewer's point, not a lot of substance, a lot of talking points, but let's go with quick takeaways and then we'll talk about some specific lines. She explained her flip-flop on fracking. She says, as vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking. I have not changed that position, nor will I going forward. My values have not changed. I believe it is very important that we take seriously what we must do to guard against what is a clear crisis in terms of the climate. To that viewer's point about the eye contact, let's put that to the side. Add that to this, what I'm about to say, I should say. When she says something, I know the propensity for word salad. I get it, and maybe people talk about it too much in conservative bubbles, perhaps, but there's really no other way to explain it. That, in terms of, she adds these bonus words, if you will, and it's a very, not even confusing, just awkward statement. I'm going to read it again. I've not changed that position, nor will I going forward. My values have not changed. I believe it is very important that we take seriously what we must do to guard against what is a clear crisis in terms of the climate. Appointing a Republican to the cabinet, that was a question that was asked. She said, yes, I would. No one in particular. We have 68 days to go in this election, so I'm not putting the cart before the horse, but I would. Of course she would. I mean, I don't think she will, but of course she would say she will. I mean, you could get an Adam Kissinger or Liz Cheney in there and say, look, I'm working across the aisle. So that one, to me, seemed like a waste of a question. She refused to engage in Trump's identity politics, saying, same old tired playbook. Next question, please. Okay. She went into depth about the phone call that really changed the trajectory of her life, meaning the phone call that she received from President Joe Biden about dropping out of his re-election bid. We'll talk about that a little bit more in depth. That's just one of the takeaways. I don't want to get into that quite yet, just to kick off the show. She blamed Trump on border security. Because he believed that it would not have helped him politically, he told his folks in Congress, don't put it forward. That was the quote-unquote bipartisan bill on border security. He killed the bill, a border security bill that would have put 1,500 more agents on the border. Not only push it, I would make sure that it would come to my desk and I would sign it. Walz, they claim, owned up to his mistakes. We'll talk about that as well. And then the response to Harris's policy proposals and promises of a new day in American politics have been met with from many Republicans has been, why haven't those things already happened in 3.5 years? It's always met with Republicans saying, couldn't just be the undecided voter out there that says, wait a minute, you keep talking about day one or what you will do. What about the last 3.5 years? Well, she responded that she is talking about an era that started about a decade ago, which is when Trump moved to the political forefront. That's what's at stake, as much as any other detail that we could discuss in this election. Wait a minute. To Scott Jennings' point that we have quoted so often, 12 out of the 16 years, 12 of the last 16 years, the Democrats have had control of the White House. So what era is she specifically talking about in those 10 years? So it was 4 years when all these problems started. So she's erasing the last 3.5 years. She said, no, we're talking about brand new day, starting day one. It is unbelievable. And unfortunately, and we have a piece we'll get to a little bit later on in the program, this interview and the coverage after shows how much the media is going to work overtime to protect her, to build her up before November. That is their lone job. Now, coming from CNN, they had a few lines, and I don't want to fall into quotes, but there are a few lines that I think are somewhat important. And this goes back into, again, Democrats having control of the White House the last 12 out of 16 years. She said, when asked about day one, and we had a viewer yesterday say, I hope they ask her what she'd do on day one. She said, I think sadly in the last decade, we have had in the former president someone who has really been pushing an agenda and an environment that is about diminishing the character and the strength of who we are as Americans, really dividing our nation. And I think people are ready to turn the page on that. Then, moving forward, they said, how do you feel about people that are struggling to pay for their groceries, etc.? She said, I'm very proud of the work that we have done that has brought inflation down to less than 3%. The work that we have done to cap the cost of insulin at $35 a month for seniors. Donald Trump said he was going to do a number of things, including allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices. Never happened. We did it. So she maintains that Bidenomics is a success. She said, I maintain that when we do the work of bringing down prescription medication for the American people, including capping the annual cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000, when we do what we did in the first year of being in office to extend the child tax credit so that we cut child poverty in America by over 50%, when we do what we have done to invest in the American people and bringing manufacturing back to the United States so that we created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs, bringing business back to America, what we have done to improve the supply chain so that we're not relying on foreign governments to supply American families with their basic needs, I'll say that that's good work. There's more to do, but that's good work. I don't want to go through her quotes here. They asked her, is there something that specifically that's made her change her mind about fracking? She said, what I have seen is that we can grow and we can increase a thriving clean energy economy without banning fracking. This is tough without just reading quotes. We're going to get away from the quotes and we'll talk about some other things. Walls saying essentially he misspoke. It's going to be very much a Biden thing where, that's just Walls, that folksy charm. Sometimes he exaggerates. We'll talk about that as well. We got so many comments coming in. What did you think of the interview? Yes, focusing on one interview with a presidential candidate that never received a vote to be in that position. So there should be a lot of questions. I don't believe that came up yesterday either. They're trying to kind of forget about that she never received a vote. They're trying to forget about, though they did talk about a little bit, about the greatest cover-up probably in presidential history that we know of, keeping Biden's mental health secret, trying to keep it out of the public view. We'll talk about that as well, but running just a tad bit late. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
I'm Marianne Kurt. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's all about.
Whether because of discomfort, lack of mobility, your lifestyle, or occupation, you sit inactively way too many hours a day. Introducing Ellipse, the premium quality automatic seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation without physical strain or impact.
It is so quiet that none of my coworkers even know I'm using it.
Strengthen and tone your legs, increase your mobility, flexibility, and balance, plus stimulate healthy circulation.
My joints feel better, my knees feel feel better. My back feels better. It makes me feel stronger, too.
Perfect for home therapy. Whisper quiet to use while you work.
My circulation is moving, I'm burning calories, and it makes me feel energetic.
Call now and order Ellipse, the seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation. Call and get upgraded to the Deluxe Bundle. Get the faster motor for 5 miles of steps per hour, the step counter, the sport mat, and wireless remote. Call now.
Sheldon and Missy face off in
Why can't we watch DuckTales? Because we don't learn anything.
Book Smarts versus Street Smarts.
Is it working? Are you feeling motivated? Very.
It's the battle of twins.
Life is so confusing. I always hoped it would be easier for me when I grew up. It's gonna be all right. You were faking. Bazinga.
Young Sheldon. Weeknights at 6:30 on Big Fox.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Okay, a couple comments from viewers. Harris agreed the immigration bill that was offered allows 5,000 illegal immigrants crossing a day is a good proposal. Whatever happened to one is too many. Thank you very much. Good morning, Frank. Good morning. Crazy times we live in when some bathead essentially suggests banning son and daughter from our language. I know, that's why I brought it up. Frank, could you mention something about the invasion of the apartment buildings? Yes, I absolutely can. Let's talk about this before we get into more about Harris's. We'll have plenty of time to talk about Harris's interview. Colorado Governor Jared Polis. He's dismissed this takeover of apartments. Now, if you're not familiar with this story, the video is extremely disturbing. I just saw someone taking a photo and it scared me. Yikes. Did not expect that at 6:25. So this video is extremely disturbing. It's a Venezuelan gang taking over an apartment building in the Denver suburb of Aurora. Now, you cannot deny the video. If you haven't seen it, it is disturbing, it's troubling. But the Colorado governor, again, Jared Polis, saying it's just imagination. Democrats seem to be very, very good at that, saying never mind what you're seeing with your eyes, never mind what you're experiencing, whether it's inflation, whether it's public safety issues, never mind any of that. It's all in your imagination. Trust me in what I say. On Wednesday night, Fox Denver aired surveillance video which showed an armed gang of men, later confirmed by cops as suspected members of, I'm going to try it here, Tren de Aruga, strolling through an apartment complex in Aurora that residents said is overrun by the gang. Hold on real quick. I've got comments coming on. All right. 3 of the men could be seen carrying handguns, while another held a rifle as they entered the troubled apartment complex, breaking into a unit shortly before a shootout took place at the complex that left one person severely injured. Further, Aurora Mayor Mike Kaufman told Fox News on Thursday that there are several buildings that have fallen to these Venezuelan gangs. Kaufman says he believes the building were used as taxpayer-funded migrant housing, which is what gave the gangs a foothold. Denver, a sanctuary city that is just west of Aurora, has received more migrants per capita than any city in the country, most of them from Venezuela. More than 40,000 migrants have arrived since December. The New York Post has been doing amazing work on this. I would recommend you find the piece for yourself. In recent months, the governor signed legislation to support their new lives in the state by making it easier for them to obtain driver's licenses, attend school, and obtain taxpayer-funded resources. This is, again, go to the New York Post. I think Fox News has been covering it extensively as well. And find the video. Taking over apartment complexes. And to this viewer's point, we have very similar sanctuary laws in New York State. Is this something that we could see? This is exactly So it was Aurora City Council member Danielle Jurinsky who brought this up. And that's what caused the Democrat governor of Colorado, Jared Polis, to say, but according to police intelligence, this purported invasion is largely a feature of Danielle Jurinsky's imagination. I want to reiterate this. The video shows several armed men in Aurora, Colorado apartment that some say is taken over by members of that Venezuelan gang. In an exclusive interview, Jurinsky fired back at the governor, asking, my question back to the governor is this also a figment of the Romero's imagination and the other residents that I helped get out of there and the other residents that I'm going to continue to get out of there? Spokeswoman Shelby Wyman said Governor Polis hopes that the city council members in charge stop trashing their own city when they are supposed to keep it safe. It is unbelievable. And the problem with stories like this is, doesn't it terrify you because you see the same type of reactions from Polis that you would see from Albany officials, from the governor? So it's something to keep in mind. Again, I don't want to talk too much about it because we have so many other things to discuss. So feel free to weigh in at any time. But this is a story that I highly recommend you go watch the video. Think about, heaven forbid, being in that apartment complex. It's a government, for lack of a better word, government-run housing being taken over by these gangs. And these Venezuelan gangs are taking over numerous things because of these sanctuary laws. But again, don't worry about your public safety. Trust us. Look, we have stats. It's just like when Don Lemon, when someone said, I support Trump because I can't afford my groceries. And he goes, well, you might feel that way, but it's just not the case. Look, I have stats right here that show different. Okay. Well, those stats help a lot when I can't afford food, when I can't afford gas to get to work. You want to see stats? Look at my checking account. Look at my saving account. Look at my receipt for groceries. Same here. Like Jurinsky said, do you want to talk to the people that we had to relocate from that building because of the threats, because of the violence? So on that, we're moving back to Harris. Yeah, CNN actually fact-checked Harris's speech. Yeah, I think they have 3 takeaways on that, 3 fact checks. That's it. Everything else was hunky-dory. The only one that's maybe worth mentioning is her stance on fracking. They said in her response, this is misleading. Now, if it was Trump saying it, it's a lie, outright lie. But this is misleading. Harris did not make her position on fracking clear during her only debate in 2020, the general election's vice presidential debate against then Vice President Mike Pence. Harris never explicitly stated a personal position on fracking during the debate. Rather, she said that Joe Biden, the head of the Democrat ticket at the time, would not ban fracking if he was elected president. All right. We've got a lot to talk about. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Attention, Elmaron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmaron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmaron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmaron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
Now there's a product that sears food, stirs it, even shreds it for you. Introducing the Power Excel StirMax Multi-Cooker with a built-in auto stirrer that gives you the freedom of adding your ingredients and walking away and coming back to meals that cook up to 60% faster. No more stirring food. StirMax technology automatically rotates the paddle clockwise, then counterclockwise, so it stirs it for you. Powerful enough to even shred food. Then the 7.5 quart pot goes right to the table to serve. With a premium ceramic coating, nothing sticks, and it's dishwasher safe. Now you can try the Power Excel StirMax Multi-Cooker with lid and recipe guide in your home for 30 days for just $14.99. You also get the steamer and rice basket for healthy meals, StirMax serving spoon that snaps in place for easy serving, and $100 in free grocery coupons. We'll even ship your order all absolutely free. This is an exclusive TV-only offer, so order now.
Let's go, baby! Should be be electric today.
The crowd, the atmosphere, this is what makes it special.
The student body are out of their mind. You want a piece of us?
This is what we do. Here we go. Touchdown. Wow.
Sensational.
Big noon kickoff, Saturdays on Fox.
Every Saturday, your game is on Fox. Because here is where it happens. Saturday on Fox, Judge swaggered up and went supersonic. True story. Saturday on Fox, the Dodgers put on a show in New York. You saw that, right? Saturday on Fox, De La Cruz showed off his record-breaking arm. And it was Saturday on Fox when Harper went all Harper. So yeah, Saturday on Fox.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Big Fox on Marcus Street. So many comments coming in. Thank you very much. I get distracted sometimes because I like reading them. By the way, big news here. Ken from Horseheads, after I think a couple-week coma, after watching every day of the DNC, he is now back. No, he's been commenting the whole time. But he has taken over his role as, frankly speaking, pundit, analyst, and he is going to tell us what he thought of last night's interview. And just because I'm going back to my broadcasting 101, I'm not going to tell you what Ken had to say right this moment. I'm going to wait a second to keep you hooked. I'd like to think you were hooked anyway, but I think Ken definitely keeps you hooked. Okay. Harris says she has no regrets defending Biden's fitness for office. And she did oh no, not at all, not at all. And then she said, I'm going to tell you maybe too much information about how this all happened. I'll give you a little too much information. My family was staying with us, and including my baby nieces. And we had just had pancakes. We were sitting down to do a puzzle, and the phone rang. And it was Joe Biden, and he told me what he had decided to do. I asked him, are you sure? And he said yes. I think history is going to show that in so many ways, Biden's presidency was transformative, be it on what we have accomplished around finally investing in America's infrastructure, investing in new economies and new industries, what we have done to bring our allies back together and have confidence in who we are as Americans. Harris lavished praise on Biden for being quite selfless and putting the American people first. Imagine your career and the job that you are doing where the only way to save America and put America first is to not do your job anymore. I mean, I don't know how else you look at this. My first thought was not about me, to be honest with you. My first thought was about him. She also revealed, as I mentioned, what she would do day one, which is I find weird. Day one, after she's been in there 3.5 years, but that's kind of her argument that, the last 10 years have been destructive. Now, she means because Trump, they said, came in the limelight 10 years ago. But if you look at it from a political standpoint, out of the last 16 years, 12 years in the White House were run by Democrats. And that's not mine. Scott Jennings highlighted that point, and I think it's a brilliant point. So this again, and the media is doing a great job helping her. This again is hoping that you haven't been paying attention. It's just like with her flip-flopping on positions. I'm hoping you haven't been paying attention. She just like with the fracking, she claims that she will not ban fracking as president. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking. Do you believe her? I know we have a lot of Pennsylvania viewers because we do reach across the border. Do you believe that she will not ban fracking? Do you believe that she will be hands-off in her fracking approach? Just posing these questions to you. Harris's campaign responded on The Hill on News Nation. It was Harris Wall's campaign principal deputy campaign manager, Quentin Folks. He responded to questions on whether 2024 Democratic presidential candidate, Vice President Kamala Harris, supports building a border wall because she wants to talk very tough on border security now. Notice, she's 60 some days left before Election Day. Now she's very tough on immigration. Interesting how that works. He said, giving details about her stance on the border wall is, quote, putting the cart before the horse. Have you noticed that's the second time I've said that today? That's going to be, for some reason, a phrase. Harris said it when they practiced it over and over. She said it. Now her campaign person said it. So this must be a part of their practice. Must be a term that they're going to use. But putting the cart before the horse. So giving you any substance on her border wall stance is putting the cart before the horse. Quote, we have to get her elected. Now, I know many of you are going to point out, this is very reminiscent of you have to vote on it to find out what's in it. And I'm paraphrasing. I can't remember the exact language of that with the Nancy Pelosi with the health care bill. So, hey, that's getting the cart before the horse before we give you any specifics on her border wall stance. We just have to get her elected. Then you'll find out what her belief is. Then we'll find out where she actually stands. Now, when we come back, I don't have to take a break. I want to talk about the media bias and all this. As I said, we're not going to spend the whole show on this, but we are going to talk a lot about it. And most importantly, I want to hear your opinion. Ken's going to weigh in here in just a little bit. Democrat VP candidate, Tim Walz. Now, he's been accused of exaggerating his service. He was asked about that. Did you see what he said? He blamed his passion and grammar for his exaggerated claims of carrying weapons of war in war. Also, though, what about the questions of the rank that he uses, especially when he was campaigning? And what about the excuses he and his campaign made for his DWI arrest when he was running for Congress, saying that it wasn't a DWI. He drove home, and the outright lies. See, that's why we knew Dana Bash was going to protect him, because there are so many follow-up questions. You know that when you see an interview with Trump or J.D. Vance, and they will not stop asking the same question and putting it in different ways to try to get him to say what they want him to say, that aggressive nastiness that we see so often, that does not happen with a Democrat candidate. So Dana Bash wasn't going to say, no, but okay, what about your lies about your DWI arrest? What about your lies on your rank? It was just going to be here's the softball, you say what you want to say, hit it out of the park, and we'll move on. Now the video, and this was only about the video, not about the rank, so this is to give a little look into the media. They have now done their due diligence. So what they can say is CNN asked the tough questions. They asked him about his exaggerations. They asked him about one specific exaggeration, not about his rank and those type of things. So then they can say that they are tough. Asked Thursday why he inflated his service record with the claim, he said, we were talking about, in this case, this was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and I speak especially passionately about our children being shot in schools and around guns. So I think people know me. That's who I am. They know where my heart is. He had previously said he misspoke in the video and later blamed his poor grammar. My wife, the English teacher, tells me my grammar is not always correct. Let me ask you this. Let's say all the times they fabricated these scandals around Trump. What if Trump got in front of Dana Bash or anybody at CNN or ABC, NBC, and said, you know what? It was my grammar. I get too passionate. I care too much. It's that old line, that old joke, that the kind of the corny answer about what's your biggest problem? What would you say is your biggest hurdle to overcome? I care too much. When you're being interviewed for a job, the problem is I just work too hard. I care too much. That's what this seems like. I just get too emotional. I just care too much, and so I sometimes misspeak. So if Trump had said that about whatever the media's next scandal is, next hyper media focus their anger at, what do you think that would be good enough for Dana Bash to say, oh, it's your passion. You care too much. Okay. Thanks for the heads up. Now we'll know to not take everything you say at face value. We'll just move along. So we've got a few other media things on this. So many comments coming in, so many waves. Thanks for joining us on this Friday morning edition. As I mentioned earlier, we will not be in Monday because it is Labor Day. I hope everybody has a wonderful Labor Day. It's going to be a repeat broadcast. I'm not sure which one. Your guess is as good as mine. But we will not be in Monday, so you got to get all your comments in today. Pack the show full of comments. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, please stay with us.
Hesselsen's Hot Spring Hot Tub Sales Event is going on now. New technology, cleaner water, easy to use, hot water made simple. Hesselsen's, your locally owned and operated hot spring hot tub store since 1955, is offering huge incentives on their saltwater hot tubs. Deluxe lifters and steps, Bluetooth music, freshwater IQ, plus 0% interest-free financing options. Come to Hesselsen's today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselsen's Hot Spring saltwater hot tub. Remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselsen's.
It's time for the world's fastest, most extreme sport, the NHRA on Fox.
We're going to give it every single ounce that we have this weekend.
It's coming down just to the wire. We're all feeling it.
Gone like a shot.
You got to bring it all.
This ain't just racing. The NHRA on Fox.
Shell Missy face off in
Why can't we watch DuckTales? Because we don't learn anything.
Book Smarts versus Street Smarts.
Is it working? Are you feeling motivated? Very.
It's the battle of twins.
Life is so confusing. I always hoped it would be easier for me when I grew up. It's gonna be all right. You were faking. Bazinga.
Young Sheldon. Weeknights at 6:30 on Big Fox.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. We have so many great viewers from this program, and I received earlier in the week a very nice, well, a couple times actually, very nice donation to the Salvation Army of Corning. Yes, I told you until September 8th, I'm going to be bringing this up a lot. If you haven't joined us all week and all last week, it is the benefit barbecue for the Salvation Army of Corning. It is a very big deal for us. And when I say us, if you're not familiar, I'm the chairman of the advisory board. And this is a very big deal because the numbers were down so much from the kettle campaign, which you're all familiar with around Christmas time. So we're still doing everything we always do to help the community, but it's just getting tougher. So we're going to have this fundraiser, and it serves as 2 points. One, it's 140 years of the Salvation Army being in Corning. And number two, to help us raise some funds. It's going to be great food from Billy Spalding, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up that QR code as we speak. Great food from Billy Spalding and Corning Catering. There's going to be some amazing silent auction items. Just a fun time. Music, activities for the kids. So many activities surrounding it. And it's just one of those fun days. After church, you head to the Nazareth Civic Center and just have a blast. A good old-fashioned blast. Elmira Impact, members of Elmira Impact Hockey will be there. So there you go. There's the QR code. And thank you so much for everybody making donations. I think it's going to be a huge success. Okay, we're going to have, after the next break, we're going to wrap up hour number one with what Ken thought of last night's speech. Ken was our DNC consultant, That's not even close to the right word. DNC commentator, correspondent was maybe the word I was looking for. But Ken has been kind enough to weigh in on last night's interview, and we're going to get to that right after the next break. But first, let's hear what the mainstream media had to say. Now, remember yesterday at the end of the show, I brought to you the story of Politico saying Vance tries to tether Harris to the Biden administration. Now, I think you and I would say, wait, once you become the VP, aren't you tethered? Aren't you very tethered? Why would Vance need to tether you? And we've already had examples this morning where it's Republicans say, Trump's attacking. No, I think the American people, the voters, who never had an opportunity to vote for Harris whatsoever, they probably have a right to know some of these answers. I don't think we got the answers last night. I think it was still a lot of generalities, not a lot of substance. So I think there's still a lot of questions. And here's a question. This was posed yesterday by a viewer, and we never really got a lot of traction on it, only because we were talking about what questions you would ask Harris. Do you think Harris will give a single interview, not with Walls, a standalone interview before the debate? Or, as Ken said, and I'm starting to agree with Ken on this, not give another interview until November. What'd she say? It's 68 days, so now 67 days out. Does she need to do another interview as the media continues to boost her up, talk about her momentum, talk about flip-flopping, but it's a good thing in this case. She's really changed her position. She's moderate. She's Reagan-esque, one commentator said. So does she need to do an interview? Yeah, she'll get a little pushback from Vance and Trump, but she'll also get some pushback from some media people saying, wait a minute, they'll do, again, going back to what I said about Dana Bash, they'll do their due diligence and act outraged, all while continuing to prop her up. Just like with Walls. We asked Walls a tough question about using weapons of war in war, that he never went to war. What about the issue with his rank? What about the issue with his DWI? They don't bring those up, but see, they can always say, well, we asked a question. And he responded, we are fair, we are balanced, we are unbiased. They'll do the same thing with the demanding. We demand that Harris give an interview or a press conference because we want to find out more about how this momentum and this history-making campaign is doing so well without answering our questions. I mean, the writing's on the wall. So do you believe, though, that she will give 1, 2, more interviews? Will she give no interviews before November? It's already been stated, essentially, and I think it was an article by CNN, and it could have been Stephen Collinson, who said this was a huge chapter in her campaign because the next big milestone will be the debate. So that's already assuming she's not going to do another interview until the 10th. Until after the 10th, I should say, because the debate is the 10th. So I think the media is just fine with it, because they don't want her to do anything to screw this up either. They want her, and there's a really good piece, and we'll get to it in the next hour, which is, I want to give you the exact headline. It's by Isaac Shore, and he says, CNN's interview showed how media will work overtime to get Kamala Harris elected. We'll talk about that probably in the next hour, but when we return from this break, we will hear what Ken had to say. He was there every night for the DNC, and now he's put in another Herculean effort. Stayed up and watched CNN's debate. Dana Bash, Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, Coach Walz. And we'll hear what Ken had to say when we come back. Stay with us. This is, Frankly Speaking, here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer.
How do I know if I have a case?
Call 844-292-6222 and consult with one of our attorneys to find out if the products you used are part of the lawsuit. Your eligibility will also depend on how often you use these hair products and your specific cancer diagnosis. If you regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. Call 844-292-6222.
How much will it cost to talk to an attorney?
There is no fee unless we win your case. Call 844-292-6222 for your free case review.
Dale pues, mamá ya, muévete más loco como solo tú lo sabes. Así es, con las manos en la cabeza, sacúdete, 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 mira, sacúdete.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Historic Market Street in Corning. Thank you so much for joining us. If you are just joining us, you are in luck because we are going to finish this hour with Ken's commentary about last night's interview. First, from a different viewer. A bit off topic, but regarding gun violence in schools. That's not off topic. That's what Walls was talking about. I blame the media for perpetrating these copycat crimes. Yeah, and there's also something to be said, and I know the media laughs this off, but there's obviously something to be said about violent video games as well. But yeah, that's a very good point. Thank you very much. Okay, here we go. Ken, the official, frankly speaking, correspondent who watches things so we don't have to. How's that for a title? Watches things that we don't want to watch. Here we go. Frank, well, the long-awaited, one and only set-down interview with Harris, and keep in mind, Ken predicted this yesterday, and I don't disagree. The one and only. I don't know if we'll see any interviews from Harris, especially by herself, after yesterday, though. That wasn't even by herself. That was with the Walls. But it was a bigger waste of time than the DNC was. Oh, wow, Ken. She recanted the buying vote plans that she said in the past, $6,000. She recanted the buying vote plans that she said in the past, $6,000 child credit, lowering drug prices, $25,000 gifts to first home buyers, etc., which have been all stated in the past. Most that can't be done with no additional details. Yeah, and a lot of this she knows can't be done. But boy, does that not sound good to someone out there. I'll take $25,000. So you're exactly right. But I wonder what you think. All right, there's $25,000 for new home buyers. What about what we're learning in California, where it was up to $150,000 home credit for illegal immigrants? But anyway, back to Ken. I always do this with Ken. I always get on side tangents, and I apologize. Ken continues. She corrected the fracking issue. She was against it in 2019, but at a debate in 2020, she stated that she had changed her position, but wouldn't explain why. I did a quick Google search and couldn't find anything. I assume that with the power of the media, that should be easy to find. I will wait and see. Good point. She didn't answer the questions on Bidenomics. She just said prices are too high, but inflation is going in the right direction. On immigration, she said she is for the rule of law and is the best suited person to enforce it, and blamed Trump for shooting down the bill that would have fixed it. She wouldn't talk about the fact that she previously pushed her Indian heritage prior to pushing her black heritage. Yeah, that's interesting, and the media really likes the line that she had. Moving on. Not going to answer it. You know, it's that tough-talking prosecutor, when really that's a pretty efficient way not to answer a question, isn't it? Continuing, she doubled down on the lie that Biden was sharp, smart, and above all, cared deeply about the country. There was absolutely no substantial to the interview. Nothing substantial to the interview. There was one let me try again. Tongue-tied this morning. Sorry, Ken. There was one revelation that she stated that I believe to be true. She said her values haven't changed. Since her values are that of a chameleon, she will say or do anything that she needs to benefit herself. You are 100% right. That's why she originally ran for president back in 2019. She wasn't of that caliber, politically speaking, to be president. But yes, she will do anything politically expedient. Anything to benefit herself. You could not be more correct. And you've seen that, and you could say that's bias. The proof is in the pudding throughout her whole career. Continuing. Walls, as far as I'm concerned, is not credible and deserves no time. Thank you, Ken. Wrapping up hour number one with Ken's commentary. Ken from Horseheads, who did the yeoman's work of watching the DNC all 4 days, and now weighed in on Kamala Harris, Coach Walls, and the sit-down interview, perhaps, as Ken predicts, one and only interview. Hour number 1 in the books. Stay with us. Unbelievable. That went fast. Again, we're not going to be on Monday, so get your comments in. What'd you think of the interview? We've got other things we hopefully will talk about as well, so stay with us. Hour number 2 on its way.
Our water's better tasting. It's better for the planet.
That's great, sir. Can I take your order?
Oh, number 3.
At Culligan, we get that most people don't think about water like we do, and that's okay. You see, when we install our drinking water and softening systems, we're thinking about filtering contaminants and the minerals that make water hard. So you can just think about softer, cleaner, better tasting water. At Culligan, we think about your water, so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
The tradition, the atmosphere, the pageantry, and the passion. It's Big Noon Saturday. Drew Aller and Penn State take on West Virginia.
Watch out!
It's Big Noon Saturday, only on Fox.
The Big's website is here now. WYDCTV.com. Local and national news that keeps you informed and involved. WYDCTV.com. Today's weather up to date and in your town. WYDCTV.com. Sports news, local events, and health stories that affect you. WYDCTV.com. The Big Fox website.
Hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. So many comments coming in, I'm getting distracted. So we're not even starting hour number 2 with music. Thank you for joining us this morning. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. This, of course, as you are well aware, is the Hesselson Studio. Coming up in a little bit, we're going to hear from Linda and Crystal from Stu Ben's Senior Services Fund. That's in just a few moments. Again, a quick announcement, not going to be here Labor Day. So get your comments in. What'd you think last night? Do you think, I think that's a very fair question, and one that I'd love to hear your opinion. Do you think Harris will give another interview? First question, before the debate on September 10th? I think most people would say no. But will she give an interview after? I guess maybe it depends on the debate performance. Oh, hey, thanks for all these waves coming in. Comment from a viewer. After watching Harris's interview, I would have called it more of a production. I like that. Other than she did tell us the truth, if you listened. And the truth is, she said, quote, "My values haven't changed. I guess leopards can't change their spots." It's a very good point. Thank you. Let's take a look at what Stephen Collinson had to say. You ready for this? So predictable. This is from CNN. Harris bolsters momentum in first sit-down interview, but leaves gaps on policy detail. How did she bolster momentum? Well, let's find out. Kamala Harris showed how she plans to deal with Trump and win the presidency in an exclusive CNN first interview with the vice president since becoming the Democratic nominee, avoiding slips that could slow her momentum. Hold on, there's a couple slips in there, but hold on. I like how that's a first interview since being the nominee. No, it's the first interview since Biden dropped out, since Biden endorsed her. See, rewriting history, hoping you're not paying attention, folks. Harris went into the interview on Thursday under enormous scrutiny, with Trump and his allies accusing her of dodging the press and predicting she'd fizzle under pressure. Remember, I brought up Collinson because he was doing this and he's doing it again now. He was setting the bar very low by saying, oh, they think she's going to do horrible. The Republicans say this, Republicans say that. Why is it, though? Let's accept him at face value here. First of all, I don't accept enormous scrutiny. Where was this enormous scrutiny? Because the nominee for president of the United States from the Democratic Party, who never received a single vote for that job, had not done an interview, and the media essentially criticizes Republicans for bringing it up. That is how biased, and we're going to get to that piece in just a moment about just how much they're going to carry the water for this campaign. But they accused her of dodging the press. What else? Not accused. She was dodging the press. So they make it sound like, oh, they're just saying all these crazy things. Well, you've already misstated it. Not misstated it. You've already manipulated what you said, Stephen Collinson, by saying she hasn't given an interview since becoming the nominee. No, it's longer than that. So it is so amazing. But was the bar really set that low? We didn't think she was going to go off the rails. We just wanted to learn more about the nominee that no one voted for. I mean, it's simple as that. The vice president preferred sweeping themes and aspirations rather than detailed policy blueprints, and declined to fully explain reversals on issues like immigration and energy. I like that. Would that statement ever be made about a Republican? Preferred sweeping themes and aspirations, painting it almost in a positive light. But she was a more adept, disciplined, and prepared political figure than she appeared in her short-lived bid for the 2020 Democrat nomination, or in accident-prone moments early in her tenure as vice president. Harris smoothly countered questions and follow-ups about her vulnerabilities by pivoting to safer talking points, as she failed to do in a damaging interview with NBC in 2021. And they kept trying to bring that up as if that was going to happen again. She had practiced this so much. It was stated in that piece we brought the other day that she has off-the-record Q&A with reporter in Air Force Two. What do you think that was? That, of course, was practice for scenarios like this. And when you are only talking in generalities and generic terms, it's very easy to sound okay. It's very easy to act like you're on the ball when you're not giving any specifics. Harris also steered clear of any obvious errors that would knock her campaign off track and require her to perform damage control in the vital build-up to her debate showdown on September 10th. So again, Stephen Collinson admitting she's not going to do another interview. And a week after her keynote speech in the Democratic Convention expanded on her core argument that it was time to turn the page from Trump's divisiveness, she also refused to be drawn into her Republican rivals' provocations over her racial identity. I love that. It just means that you don't have to answer the question. It's a contrast with Trump. Harris was at ease and pragmatic, contrasting with the self-obsessed and bombast of her opponent. Few specifics, he does admit that, few specifics on how Harris would enact her agenda. And she finessed shifts in policy. Oh, I like that, finessed. This is so predictable. It's almost laughable. Now, Trump, it is laughable if it weren't so serious. Former President Trump wasted little time, quote, trash talking Harris's first major sit-down interview. He said, her answer rambled incoherently and declared her values haven't changed. On that, I agree. Her values haven't changed, he said on Truth Social. America will become a wasteland. This was so rehearsed. Enough on that. Okay. Some of the reaction to this in the conservative world, they highlighted one of the answers which they considered a word salad. And I'm going to read it for you and see your thoughts. Dana, I think the most important, and I mentioned it a little bit earlier on, but Dana, I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed. You mentioned the Green New Deal. I have always believed and I've always worked on it. But the climate crisis is real. That it is an urgent matter to which we should apply metrics that include holding ourselves to deadlines around time. We did that with the Inflation Reduction Act. I love the part that I took away from that is holding ourselves to deadlines around time. I posed a question to you this morning. What other kind of deadlines are there? I'm asking a serious question. Deadlines around time. I can't think of anything else that you could even use. Maybe you can. This is right off the top of my head. Well, Steve Guest said the definition of a deadline is, quote, the latest time or date by which something should be completed. There you go. Now, some are saying it's an instant classic. I don't think it's as much as some of her last word salads, but I do think it's worth noting. I want to read it one more time before we take our first break of the second hour. You mentioned the Green New Deal. I've always believed, and I've worked on it, that the climate crisis is real, that it is an urgent matter to which we should apply metrics that include holding ourselves to deadlines around time. We did that with the Inflation Reduction Act. Now, the Trump campaign has said that Harris is still a San Francisco radical. Harris said her values have not changed 3 separate times. She's still a San Francisco radical. Harris spoke for just over 16 minutes and didn't even address the crime crisis in this nation. She spent a mere 3 minutes and 25 seconds talking about the economy and 2 minutes, 36 seconds talking about immigration. Again, this is CNN helping her along. Look, Stephen Collinson saying boosting the momentum, keeping that momentum going. That's how good that speech was. Or I keep saying speech, how good that interview was. No, it was exactly what she needed to go into the debate. So again, the media is totally fine with the nominee for president of the United States to not do any more interviews before September 10th. Now, think of how many interviews past presidential candidates have given. Not just Trump and Vance, or maybe, what's the word I want to use? I mean, they go above and beyond. They give so many interviews to hostile areas, to hostile news people every day, tons of them. But to think the media is not only fine with this, they're encouraging it in some ways by giving her all this great attention for doing one interview. So how long did they say it was? 16 minutes? Is that how long the interview was? 16 minutes. And people will be talking about this for hours and days as if it's some historic interview, when all it is a mere interview with her and her running mate as they attempt to run for president and vice president of the United States of America. It is newsworthy. It is history-making because she has done one interview. And Stephen Collinson trying to confuse you or trying to downplay it, saying, well, it's the first time she's done an interview since becoming nominee. No, it's the first time since she's done an interview since becoming the presumptive nominee, when Biden dropped out and endorsed her, which adds a lot more time to it. But as I said, and we're going to get to it probably in the next break. Yeah, we'll do it in the next break because then I have to shift gears, if you will, and talk to our good friends at Stu Ben Senior Services Fund. So stay with us. We've got some comments I'll read when we come back. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
We are proud to serve our country, to serve our local communities, to wear the uniform, to be a soldier, to serve abroad when and where duty calls. We are ready to stand with our brothers and sisters to defend, to serve, to fight. We're always ready, we're always there. We are the New York Army National Guard.
I'm Marianne Burt. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me, to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's all about.
How many have you tried to clean a stubborn mess but end up with no success? What you need is the all-new waterproof Ruby Horsepower, the new cordless and rechargeable power scrubber that cleans faster and easier, guaranteed. Watch, baked on oven grease is no match. It blasts away dirt and grime in no time. The power comes from our rotating brushes, spinning at 350 RPM. The incredible torque fights calcium, mildew, mold, and more. Take it in the kitchen, where it busts through caked-on crud, or outside and tackle tough tasks with ease. Get your Ruby Horsepower with 4 additional attachments, all for just $39.99. Great news! They're in stock and ready to ship. Due to high demand, only 2 per order. Order now.
Call 1-800-980-2344. That's 1-800-980-2344, or visit horsepowerscrubber.com. So call 1-800-980-2344 now.
It's a new season of Sherry.
Having a good time has always been my #1 goal. I tend to get crazy. At my age, I should not be jumping up and down like that. And if you don't know what I mean, ask your mama. The young ones, y'all like, we don't know what you're talking about. But I promise you, in 30 years, you will.
It's the best time in daytime.
weekdays at 2 p.m. on Big Fox.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm your host, Frank Acom. I know I say us, it is just me. We got some comments coming in. What Inflation Reduction Act? More like Inflation Augment Act. Yes, I love that it's called the Inflation Reduction Act. It's one of those, it's a perfect Washington thing, right? Oh, this is going to save us. And look what it did. As you mentioned, made matters worse. Now, here's what, before I get to that one piece I want to talk about. There's so many. Let's go to that piece, because I know we're going to run late this morning, I can tell. This is from Isaac Shore, and Isaac says, for the first month and change after being handed a major party's presidential nomination without earning a single vote, Kamala Harris coasted. Democrats and their allies in the press rejoiced at no longer being saddled with Joe Biden and rewarded her with a luxurious honeymoon that she used to walk back the unpopular far-left agenda she endorsed back in 2020 and present herself as all things for all people. It's been a boon to her prospects and, most importantly, an injustice to voters. Because normally, as you know, with the primaries, and you have competition, you have debates, you have nothing. And Democrats are fine with that. We have yet to hear from anybody on this show, a Democrat that thinks differently. They're fine as long as it's not Trump. They didn't care who was in there. So, I mean, I guess maybe make the system always this way. Let the party elites, not the Republicans, the Democrat Party elites, just pick your candidates, big money, pick your candidates. And why even bother? Then you don't have to go to the voting booth an extra time. And you don't have to make those tough decisions about who you want. I'm not saying it. This is what I guess is just the fact at this point. But continuing. On Thursday, Harris was finally forced to answer a question or two alongside her running mate, Tim Walz. In the afternoon, CNN released a short clip to preview the Veep's interview with Dana Bash. Asked about her various flip-flops on various issues and energy policy in particular, she served up word salad. Climate change is an urgent matter to which we should apply metrics that include holding ourselves to deadlines around time. And platitudes, the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed. And a reminder of her brand of radicalism by all but admitting that the Inflation Reduction Act was actually a cynical way to use an economic crisis to pass a climate bill. When the interview actually began, Bash's first inquiry was about what Harris would do on day one. All she mustered were platitudes about the middle class and a lamenting of Donald Trump's character flaws. Bash had to repeat the inquiry. It was not a great start, and conservatives will call it a disaster. But as full of dodges and outright lies as it might have been, a disaster it was not. Harris started slow, but the interview showed exactly how, with a savvy campaign strategy and a friendly media, she is capable of defeating Trump. Now, this is from Isaac Shore. Sit back. I think this is an important message. Asked if she stood by Bidenomics, she shrewdly stiff-armed the term and pivoted to specific policies advanced by the administration. When immigration, perhaps her greatest vulnerability as a candidate, came up, she hammered Trump for killing a bipartisan immigration bill and promised that as president she forcefully would sign that into law. Given the poor hand she's dealt herself as border czar, it was the best she could reasonably be expected to do. And while Walz has plenty of vulnerabilities himself, given his radical record, he is a smooth operator whose platitudes come off as sincere if you're not attuned to his act. And how many people aren't attuned to things like that? The playbook is simple. Scripted answers only works, though, because it was paired with Bash's friendly tone and approach. She would press them once, but never really try to pin either of them down if they continued to evade uncomfortable terrain. Bash really gave the game away when she asked, with her final question, in the first interview Harris has granted the American people in months, softballs about her niece and Walz's son. If the Democrats want to run a biographical, vibes-based campaign, the media is content to let them. To be sure, Harris made mistakes on Thursday. She doubled down on her price gouging talking points that doubles as a smear and excuse. She was utterly unconvincing in her effort to convince voters, and Pennsylvanians in particular, that she changed her view on fracking. She gave an embarrassing answer about how ending Israel's just war on Hamas might unlock the potential for a two-state solution in the region. And of course, she meandered. But if Harris's weaknesses are to be exploited, Republicans and their standard bearer will need to prosecute the case against her in a diligent and intelligible manner. Because the media isn't going to. And Harris is smart enough to use that to her advantage. Well, she knows it. I don't think it's like she came up with the thought of, oh, you know, the media is friendly to me. I could really use them. She knew it. They probably told her. I mean, that was so obvious with the choice of Dana Bash and CNN being her first interview and having Walz there. The fix, just like the election, just like the re-election campaign, the fix was in, folks. All right, we've got to take a break because when we come back, we're going to be talking with our good friends Linda and Crystal from the Steuben Senior Services Fund. Now, this is the first time Crystal's been on the show, but Linda has been on a couple times. So that's coming up. Quick little interview. Then we'll get back into the interview with Kamala Harris, and then we'll talk a little bit here about media coverage in general, Trump, as much as we possibly can. The show's moving quickly. And thank you for joining us on this beautiful Friday morning. Remember, we won't be in Monday, so get these comments in. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
Have you been unable to work for over a year due to a mental or physical disability?
Were you recently denied Social Security disability benefits? Great news. You may be eligible for money, back pay, relief.
If you've been pre-qualified and diagnosed with a recognized condition that prohibits you from working, our lawyers can file a claim to get your disability benefit.
Call us today and find out more.
Call now, 844-617-0440.
Hustleton's Hot Spring Hot Tub Sales Event is going on now. New technology, cleaner water, easy to use, hot water made simple. Hustleton's, your locally owned and operated hot spring hot tub store since 1955, is offering huge incentives on their saltwater hot tubs, deluxe lifters and steps, Bluetooth music, freshwater IQ, plus 0% interest-free financing options. Come to Hustleton's today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hustleton's Hot Spring Saltwater Hot Tub. Remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hustleton's.
Whether because of discomfort, lack of mobility, your lifestyle, or occupation, you sit inactively way too many hours a day. Introducing Ellipse, the premium quality automatic seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation without physical strain or impact.
It is so quiet that none of my coworkers even know I'm using it.
Strengthen and tone your legs, increase your mobility, flexibility, and balance. Plus, stimulate healthy circulation.
My joints feel better, my knees feel better, my back feels better. It makes me feel stronger too.
Perfect for home therapy. Whisper quiet to use while you work.
My circulation is moving, I'm burning calories, and it makes me feel energetic.
Call now and order Ellipse, the seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation. Call and get upgraded to the Deluxe Bundle. Get the faster motor or 5 miles of steps per hour, the step counter, the sport mat, and wireless remote. Call now.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting from the Hesselson studio. We're about to talk about the Steuben Senior Services Fund. Thanks so much for being on the show this morning.
Thanks for having us again.
Yes, you've got a big fan club. Everybody's waving to you,
well,
as always.
Uh-huh.
Yes. So let's talk. Last time we were on, we've talked about the Bubbly and Brunch fundraiser. How did it go?
Oh my goodness, it was wonderful.
Yeah.
And what I want to really lead off with is thanking the community for their support.
Of course.
We made nearly $19,000 on this one-day event, and it's really because of the generosity of sponsors and individuals and businesses who gave a lot to us, and we are so thankful. And that will help support our Full Circle America program.
Right, which I want to talk about in just a moment. Is there a Bubbly and Brunch fundraiser every year? Is this a one-time thing?
We started in 2019 and unfortunately had to take a break for a couple of years.
Not the best time to start.
No, we thought we were going to go forward in 2020, but we weren't able to. So then we started again in 22, and we've had 3 in succession. So this is our 4th.
Oh, that's wonderful. And as you mentioned, it goes to Full Circle America program. You thank the community because really everything that you do is about the community overall, isn't it? As Student Senior Services Fund?
I would say absolutely yes, because all of the money that we run these programs with comes from the community. The generosity is unbelievable. It really is. The United Way is supporting us. The Bethesda Foundation is supporting us. We've had grants from corporations. We've had fundraisers at individual corporations. We have foundations giving to us. So we really have a lot of community support.
Isn't that great? So let's talk a little bit about Full Circle America. For those that don't know, I know we've talked about it in the past, but what is the Full Circle America program?
Okay, I want to introduce to you, this is Chris, my sidekick, Crystal with a K, Watkins, and she is with us about 6 months as the Full Circle America coordinator. I call her the care coordinator, okay? And she works with the individuals who are on our program, so I'll let her explain that. What is it?
So Full Circle America is a program that was started in Maine by Dr. Teal, correct? Right, and so it's really some technology that allows our older population to remain in home, because as we know, when people are able to age in place, they do well.
Of course.
You know, in their homes. And so it's really a series of cameras. It's not meant to be invasive to invade privacy, but it allows the member, we call them members, to remain in their homes safely. And it also allows us to connect them with other services in the community. So it's a lot of partnerships that are going on with other service providers as well. We also like to draw in the care providers of the loved one and just really talk about the needs of their loved one and how we can best help. So the cameras, there's usually a set of 3 that are set up in their home, usually in places where they spend most of their time, usually like a living room, kitchen, and maybe down a hallway so that we can see them transitioning maybe out of their bedroom into the bathroom, those kind of things. And the purpose for those cameras are to make sure that while it won't prevent someone from falling, but if they were to fall, a family member would be notified, emergency help would be notified if needed, those kind of things. It also allows the caregiver to move through their daily life as well. I'm new to caregiving myself, and I still have to work, but it's nice to be able to check in on a loved one if needed, you know, even from your computer or your telephone.
Your cell phone.
Exactly. It's a platform that people can look in on. And again, it lets the caregiver just move throughout their life, travel if they want to, those kinds of things. So it's really wonderful. And then Full Circle America also checks in with our members 4 times a day, just to see how they're doing, monitoring the cameras. Again, not meant to be invasive, but just making the phone calls as well, just to see is there anything that you need, how are you doing, because breaks down the barrier of isolation as well.
Is keeping people socially connected.
Of course.
To a series of people, not just Chris, but also the people in Maine, and the phone calls from there. Family members can use, we put in Amazon Echo shows in every home along with the passive video monitoring. So we have voice activated. So if a person is in trouble and it's not happened to be a time when somebody's looking, they can say, Alexa, call my son. And it will immediately call him because Chris has set it up that way. So the connection is there. And son, I have fallen on the floor, and then they can decide what's the next best thing to do. So it really relieves the angst of your older one being alone, and there's not sufficient care so that it can be covered 24/7. So this gives that circle of care that keeps that person safe and connected.
Isn't technology amazing at how helpful it can be? Sometimes it's scary too, right? Have you found that to be a hurdle with some people getting the technology?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
For sure, but I think I like to think that when I'm approaching a possible member and their family, it's just really having that authentic conversation with them and really talking about their needs and their dislikes and their likes and their desires. And obviously most of the time their desire is to remain in their home.
Right. Sure.
How can we best do that? And again, the cameras aren't there to invade their privacy. Of course not. We don't have the time to be sitting around.
You've got better things to do,
we got
right?
looking all the time to see what someone is doing. And for sure, Maine, Full Circle in America, Maine also.
Of course.
We just are doing that check-in and then we're moving on.
Right.
But it really allows that loved one to remain in their home.
And we've got to know Marion from the ads.
You have.
Yeah, she is definitely a success story. She loves the program. She seems like a wonderful person.
Oh, she is. She was the community librarian, the maven. I call her the maven of Wayland because she knows everyone and everyone knows Marion. And she has been very engaged in her community for her whole life.
Yes.
And so now being legally blind and not able to get out and not able to drive and go places anymore and so forth, this keeps her connected, keeps her safe. She's very appreciative of it, and she's very appreciative of Crystal's visits. And when something happens and the cameras aren't working, Maine will notify us, and Crystal will go out and what's happened here, let's reconnect things, so that occasionally somebody unplugs a camera that shouldn't have, or whatever happens to happen, the internet goes down, the provider, whatever. So Chris makes sure all of those connections remain going all the time, and it gives the family a great sense of relief to know that we're on the job too.
Of course. And it must be so rewarding when you have success stories like Marion.
For sure. I mean, I'm, as Linda had stated earlier, I'm new to this position, but I cannot believe how fortunate I feel, and I'm just so passionate about it. I mean, if we could put cameras in everyone's home, that would be great. Just because it just really, I think, gives a sense of safety and still allows our members to have some freedoms, but furthermore, I think too, more importantly, maybe it gives a peace of mind to some of our caregivers as well. Because as I said earlier, many of us still have to work, or they're newly retired, and their hope is that they could travel, but they can still look in on their loved one and feel safe that they're also being looked in on as well.
Now, how many of you served in the community or currently serving?
So overall, year to date, we served 99.
Wow.
Yep. And
looking for the 100th. Call right
we
now.
Are.
Right?
I know.
Actually, we've got some referrals, so that's not far away.
It's not far away. And currently, we have 30 active members.
Oh, wow.
So I am very proud to say, out of the 42 towns and cities that we have in Steuben County, 21 of them have presence of Full Circle America Steuben Senior Services Fund.
Wow. Now, you've been a part of this for about 6 months, Crystal. What surprised you the most in those 6 months? I didn't tell you I was going to ask that question.
Tell me.
Putting you on the spot.
You put me on the spot. What surprised me the most? I just love the openness of our older citizens in our community. They're just willing to embrace technologies, but just embrace life. They just really want to embrace life. We shouldn't be so quick to just write off our older members in our community. I mean, they have so much to give. And if we I think what I love about it is not only do I install the cameras, but my visits, I get to spend time
to know them,
talking with people and learning their life histories. And there's some incredible people.
Oh, I'm sure.
I mean,
for sure.
Incredible. If we just take the time to have those conversations and listen, right?
I don't know if I'm going to word this right, but it's Full Circle America program through Steuben Senior Services Fund?
Correct.
Okay.
You got it. You nailed it.
All right. I thought so. That's why I've got this job. Now, with Steuben Senior Services Funds, there's always a need for volunteers, correct? And we talked earlier about your support from the community. How can someone that's watching this get involved?
Oh my goodness, we're in the process of recruiting people to help us with next year's Bubbly and Brunch.
Okay. All right.
So if we need some active people that like getting out in the community and getting engaged and helping something that's important for our seniors. We are actually our recruitment committee is working right now to recruit some Corning area board members.
Oh, okay.
And so that's something that we're very interested in. And it seems like a strange thing to sit on TV and say we're looking for board members, but it's very interesting. I remember years ago I went to I believe it was a Rotary meeting and spoke about Full Circle America and told of the need for volunteers on our board and in other instances. And 2 people came up right then and there and said, I'm very interested.
Oh, great.
They both joined the board. Both were long-term members, heavy givers.
Yeah.
Not that you have to give heavily,
No.
but they were givers, and the one is still giving, even
Isn't
though
that
she
great?
moved out of the community, and served as our executive director for an interim period of time as well. So you just never know who might be listening and wants to put their passion for helping to good use, and that's what we're looking for. We also have vacancies for wellness ambassadors.
Okay.
And those would be people, they don't have to be retired nurses, but they could be. And these people would visit our members and just be part of that socialization network. And so if anyone is interested in that, they can, any of those positions, they can call us.
Is that the best way to do it? Call, go to the website, something
Sure.
like that? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Make sure get
Send an
involved.
email. You can send an email that would come to me, and then we'd follow up.
And that's for volunteering, becoming on the board. What if someone's interested in the Full Circle America program through Steuben Senior Services Fund and says, this sounds like an amazing idea, I will embrace the technology. Who should they contact?
Crystal or myself, we work very closely together. So if I get a referral, which I do, occasionally I'll talk to the people myself, of course.
Yes.
And then refer them on to Crystal for the actual, go out and do, there's a small interview of getting to know the person, and then the actual making sure they've got the internet, making sure that they, embrace the technologies we've been talking about, and off we go.
Well, great. Well, thanks so much for being on the show this morning.
Thank you for having us.
All right. We'll be right back
Thank
with
you.
Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
Wow, you found it.
I did.
The History of Water Part 6? I've been dying to read this.
I know, honey.
I always wanted that book.
At Culligan, we get that most people don't think about water like we do, and that's okay. You see, when we install one of our high-efficiency water softeners, we're thinking about hard water and limescale buildup, so you can just think about longer-lasting appliances and softer skin and hair. At Culligan, we think about your water, so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
I'm Jonathan Lawson. If you're 50 to 85, please listen closely. The lock I want to talk to you about isn't the one on your door. It's a rate lock for your life insurance that guarantees that once you're insured, your rate can never go up at any time for any reason. Many policies you see don't have one, but you can get a lifetime rate lock from Colonial Penn. This plan was designed for people on a fixed income with coverage options that start at $9.95 a month. That's less than 35 cents a day. Your rate is locked in for life. Coverage can never be canceled, and your acceptance is guaranteed. You cannot be turned down because of your health. See for yourself. Call for an information kit and gift. Both are free with no obligation.
Call 1-800-781-9990 for your free information and your free gift. That's 1-800-781-9990. 1-800-781-9990. Call now.
Every Saturday, your game is on Fox. Because here is where it happens. Saturday on Fox, Judge swaggered up and went supersonic. True story. Saturday on Fox, the Dodgers put on a show in New York. You saw that, right? Saturday on Fox, De La Cruz showed off his record-breaking arm. And it was Saturday on Fox when Harper went all Harper. So yeah, Saturday on Fox is where it happens.
Something with a diamond in it.
Diamondback rattlesnake.
It's in the name. Name a low-calorie food you might make your edible underwear out of.
Salmon.
Watch it weeknights. Share it the next day.
Wild caught Norwegian teriyaki.
Share in the fun. Weeknights on Family Feud.
7 and 7:30 on Big.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Thank you so much to Linda and Crystal for being our guests this morning during the Steuben Senior Services Fund section of our program. And they're from the Steuben Senior Services Fund. A couple comments from viewers. Before we take our long weekend, maybe we should remember that when Trump was president, he refused any pay. Yes, he had no salary. He donated said salary because that's the way it worked. He still had to on paper take a salary, and he donated it to very important causes. And not only that, he didn't take every weekend to go sit at the beach. Yes, the President of the United States has been on vacation now for 2 weeks, even though he said he would finish off strong. Next up, a different comment. After seeing the interview last night, it's obvious she will say, meaning Harris, anything to get elected. The far left won't be upset because they realize what she's doing. I just hope no one else is buying it. Thank you very much. Another comment. Since she said she would sign the immigration law if elected, regardless of any opposition to such, essentially saying that said law would have been passed, then why hasn't she passed it already? This is a fair point. All these things that she will quote unquote do day one, why has she not done it? Another comment from a viewer. Good morning, Frank. Good morning. Why are we the people letting this happen? Again, this boils down to a question I think is a very fair question and one that I have not heard an answer to, not directly or in other outlets. Are Democrats, if you are a Democrat out there, are you okay with this process? Are you okay with big money and the party elites picking your candidates? You know, at the end of yesterday's program, I mentioned that model, and her name escapes me. But I thought she had such a good point. She said she was a lifelong Democrat, and she said she realized what was going on when the fix was in, and they installed Hillary and now Kamala, and they stole away, in her mind, and I think she's right about Bernie and RFK Jr. I still, if you don't recall, it's an important point to make. Bernie Sanders, very popular at the time, very Trump-esque in the sense of rallies, huge rallies, getting great numbers, and the fix was already in. There was no way that he could win. And being the true revolutionary he is, he stooped and bowed and ended up endorsing both Hillary and then again when it happened with Biden. So anyway. I understand the frustration out there. I don't have the answer. Conservatives tore apart Kamala Harris's performance in her first interview. Kamala Harris values diversity of opinion so much, she's held every position on every issue herself, said Washington Reporter editor-in-chief Matthew Foldy. Kamala Harris is so incompetent that she's completely falling apart during a very friendly CNN interview. There's a reason that the Harris campaign hid her for roughly 40 days, allowing her to do no interviews. She's a disaster, said Ryan Savadra. Off the bat, Kamala Harris makes it sound like Donald Trump had been running the show for the past 4 years, but she was very weird. Kamala Harris said Dana Bash's name wrong. She must be racist. That's a good point because that's what we were told if you pronounced Kamala's name wrong. Some of Harris's allies have bashed her critics who mispronounce her name, calling them racist. Colby Hall said, why does Kamala Harris look hunched over? Her answers are strong, but weird body language of looking down. Body language experts are going to have a field day with Kamala Harris's interview. The lack of confidence is staggering. Kamala keeps looking down in a way is conveying, a great deal of weakness. The hiding from record is amazing too. And that was to a comment that a viewer had. The constantly looking down during the interview. Well, and there has to be a lack of confidence because, first of all, she's got to know about the word salads. Also, you've got walls there to protect her. I mean, that's the only reason, and I keep equating it to what is done in radio. You always have a co-host on a morning show. Well, not always, you try to, because you can save each other. You can do the back and forth. That's what that was for. Now, Joe Concha from Fox News said Kamala Harris and Tim Walz sat down for their first interview, and 2 words come to mind: dishonest and train recklicious. They're using all these weird, and I know what he's doing there. He's having a little fun because what do they call it? Feminine and phenomenon. Phenomenon? I don't know. The second word may not be an actual word, meaning trained and reckless, but it's appropriate. The edited and packaged interview, which was taped earlier in the day on Thursday, was also an example of missed opportunities for Dana Bash. To her credit, Bash did gently challenge Harris on her etch-a-sketch positions on the border and domestic energy, for example, but the answers from the Democratic nominee were on a Baghdad Bob level of lying. I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020 that I would not ban fracking as vice president. I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking. There is zero evidence this claim is true. Zero. But Bash let it slide anyway. On the border, the conversation has also become laughable. My value is around what we need to do to secure our border. That value has not changed. I spent 2 terms as the Attorney General of California prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, violations of American laws regarding the illegal passage of drugs, guns, and warnings across our border about my values. So here we have the vice president reaching back in time before she was vice president and before she was a U.S. senator to talk about how tough she was on the border. What an absolute joke and an insult to the intelligence of the American voter. And he goes through in what Dana Bash should have asked. I'm not going to go through that because the damage is done, so to speak. And I keep posing the question, do you think she'll give another interview before the debate, or do you think she'll give another interview, period? But I'll continue with what he had to say. We are heading into a holiday weekend now. Kamala Harris took nearly 6 weeks to do one interview. And based on her unsteady performance, it is all but certain we won't see much of her in any capacity before the debate. But just as we didn't see Joe Biden for days on end as he prepped for the June 27th debate in Atlanta. Obviously, it didn't matter as Biden and Harris have the same problem. Both turn into a human Chernobyl when a teleprompter and scripted remarks are taken away from them. Millions will see clips from Thursday's interview from now through the weekend. How it plays remains unclear, but it's a good bet it will be a net negative more than a net positive. Nate Silver's 538 forecast as of Thursday afternoon gave former President Trump a better chance of winning in November than Harris. The honeymoon has come to an end. This is where I disagree with him. I don't think it has. But just as it did for Harris 4 years ago, once America got to know her through interviews and debates, it went poorly. In 2024, we may be seeing a sequel to that movie, which didn't end well for her when the 2020 presidential candidate dropped out before she even got to 2020. I don't think the honeymoon is over. I think the media is just beginning. As Steven Nelson said, I got to take a break. So we'll tell you. We'll jump around a little bit. We got your comments. Remember, I'm not going to be in on Monday for Labor Day, so get your comments, your questions in now. Let's pack the last little bit of this show. 15 minutes left in the show. Let's pack it with your comments. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
What's up, guys? What I'm about to show you is going to change the way you shave your head forever.
You can shave your head in 90 seconds or less.
With no cuts or nicks. It's 100% waterproof.
It even works in the shower.
Introducing Remington's Balder Boss. With increased flex and 5 dual-track floating head design, get over 60% more head coverage for a faster, closer shave and skin-close results.
No nicks, no scrapes. Fit in the palm of my hand, and the results were amazing.
Shave in the shower or with any foam or gel. With Japanese-grade steel blades, plow through the thickest of hair. Anytime, anywhere. There's even a pop-up trimmer to complete your perfect groom. Now, you can try the Remington Balder Boss in your home for 30 days for just $14.99. Complete with a 5-year limited warranty and 100% satisfaction guarantee. You can also get our ear, nose, and brow trimmer free. Just pay separate processing and handling.
Give it a try. You won't be disappointed.
Order your Balder Boss now.
The Big Fox website is here now. WYDCTV.com. Local and national news that keeps you informed and involved. WYDCTV.com. Today's weather, up to date and in your town. WYDCTV.com. Sports news, local events, and health stories that affect you. WYDCTV.com. The Big Fox website. Your news here now. WYDCTV.com.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. I'm your host, Frank Acom. Let's get back to it. A couple comments from viewers. Kamala Harris is a chameleon. I remember her at the cabinet hearings, and I thought, who is she? Her attitude was condescending. Her interruptions were rude and loud, and I believe that's probably obnoxious, should be one of the descriptions of her, that she was presenting herself as. And now we see a smiling bowl of salad. And where were all those smiles at the cabinet hearing? Maybe the Hollywood elites that love her so much would consider her for a Best Actress award. So with that being said, who is Kamala Harris? I certainly don't know, and at this point, I certainly don't care. Hey, good morning, and have a great day. You too. Have a great day. Steven Nelson said that Harris showed her true colors Thursday in her first TV interview since becoming the Democrat nominee, admitting her lefty values have not changed. even though her positions on major policies have. And I think that is an important line, that her values have not changed. Take her at her word. I do like that line, though. Deadlines around time. Because I know I have deadlines around time all the time. But listen to this piece, another glowing piece. This is from NBC. With flannel, football, and pheasants, Harris and Walz make a play for Trump territory. Expect to see more of Tim Walz's fall in orange. Walz will be donning a bright vest while pheasant hunting. That's when he isn't wearing a tacky flannel, talking about cleaning his gutters or singing Save Big Money at Menards. The every dad image, rounded out by his nickname Coach Walz, is an unmistakable signal aimed at reaching white working class and rural voters, the kind of electorate the ticket of Harris and Walz is trying to attract in anticipation of fights to the finish. Let me ask you something, just out of curiosity, because I know we have a lot of gun owners, a lot of hunters out there. Are you convinced by that? This Hunter Walz, someone that has pushed for gun control. Do you believe him? This shtick, this folksy shtick. If you look at his past and what he's voted on, he has a far left history. But does it convince you? Could you see it convincing, say, maybe someone you know? Other people in your hunting group or in your gun rights group? By the way, let's get away from the interview, though. You can still comment on the interview. Please do. But I have a couple things we want to get to before we have to wrap up today's edition of Frankly Speaking. ABC News has rejected Kamala Harris's last-minute bid to change the debate rules. Yes, they were pushing for a change. ABC News has declined to adopt, Harris's request to have wholly unmuted microphones during her September 10th debate. Now, we know why that is. She wanted to have that moment like she had against Pence where she says something to the extent of, I'm talking. So it could look disrespectful, that Trump could look disrespectful towards her, the woman running for president of the United States. So it was kind of a 2-3-parter there. We know that's why she wanted it. Did not succeed. A network email sent to the New York Post lays out similar rules for those of the CNN debate with Joe Biden, including no audience, no pre-written notes or props, and muted mics when a candidate is not speaking. Trump and Harris will be standing on stage and will only be allowed to have a pen, a pad of paper, and a bottle of water. The Republican campaign had insisted the debate follow the same rules as the June showdown with Biden. Now, according to Gallup, Democrats are driving a surge in election enthusiasm. So let me ask you this, because we don't have Democrats. We have Democrats comment quite frequently on this program. None have yet to give any indication of if it bothers them that the big money and the elites got to pick their candidate. Kind of stayed out of it. I understand. You may not like it, and you don't want to admit it. I don't know. But feel free to weigh in on that. But also, is there enthusiasm, I ask this question, for Harris? Or is this enthusiasm for anybody but Trump because it looked as if Biden was not going to be able to defeat Trump? So where is the enthusiasm coming from? And I think that's a fair question. I don't think it's a loaded question, because if you say, no, I'm just glad we have somebody new in there, younger, even though we didn't get to vote for him, vote for her, I'm fine with it, because I've got enthusiasm now where I couldn't get enthusiasm behind Biden because it looked like he was going to lose. I don't think that's necessarily a negative. If that's your feeling, I just want to know. But close to 8 in 10 Democrats say they are more enthusiastic than usual. Now that's interesting about voting. Interesting. Now let's take our last break and then wrap up today's edition. We will not be in Monday for Labor Day. So you've got to get all your comments in right now. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here at WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
What do you do when your tire goes flat and there's no air anywhere? You reach for Bullseye Pro, the smarter, faster, hands-free way to fill it up with air. Bullseye Pro is equipped with a rechargeable lithium-ion power plant. So fast and so convenient. It's like the power of an air compressor in the palm of your hand. Look, you can inflate all 4 tires on a single charge. It has a built-in smart pressure digital sensor that gauges and automatically stops when the set tire pressure is reached. easily inflate pool toys, exercise balls, and more. Call or go online now and get the complete Bullseye Pro inflation system for the factory direct price of just $79.99. Plus, we'll ship your entire order free, and we'll give you a 50% discount on a second one. Order now.
Order call 1-800-970-9843. That's 1-800-970-9843, or go to getbullseyepro.com.
Let's go, baby! Should be electric today. The crowd, the atmosphere, this is what makes it special.
The student body are out of their mind.
You want a piece of us?
This is what we do. Here we go. Touchdown! Wow! Sensational.
Big noon kickoff, Saturdays.
And we are back, wrapping up today's edition of Frankly Speaking, right before the Labor Day weekend. Thank you so much for joining us, and so many comments and waves coming in at the last moment. Here we go. I think it is sad undecided voters never check the candidate's policy, even if she has none, but kind of depend on the media on that, and I get your point. By the way, what is her values? Really, no fracking? She will flip-flop. Exactly. Next up, I think Walz comes across as being an arrogant pinhead. Yeah, I'm not really sure this picture they're painting of him as this folksy coach, lovable guy. It is interesting he was an assistant coach, for whatever that's worth. It just of that team that was so successful. But anyway, enough on that. Yeah, I don't think it's another thing, kind of what they do with Harris, too. Never mind what you're seeing. Trust us, she's the life of the party. They did that with Hillary Clinton, too. Life of the party, just behind closed doors. You don't see it when she's up on stage, but trust us. Same with Walz. I don't think he comes off as being the kind of guy you want to be your hunting buddy, right? Next up, who believes this? I'm referencing the fracking commentary. I actually forgot to tune in and recorded the conversation, which I will attempt to watch over the weekend. Enjoy your assignment this weekend. Thank you very much. If you wonder what that means, my assignment, that's what they always say in the news, right? I'm off on assignment on Monday, when actually I'll be grilling for Labor Day. So that's my assignment. I'll be grilling for Labor Day. So I will enjoy my assignment. Thank you. Next up from Ken, who watched last night. Thank you again, Ken, for offering your commentary on last night's interview. The fact that we're talking about this one interview from the presidential candidate, Kamala Harris, and that is newsworthy, apparently. And not because of some huge gaffe or some this or that, just because she gave an interview. But back to Ken. One of your viewers asked why as a country we are allowing the Democrats to put up a candidate that received no votes from their electorate. The reason seems simple to me. To take a line from Rush Limbaugh, God rest his soul, they're low information voters. The small amount of time they spend on politics is limited to the talking points of the operable wing of the Democrat Party, the legacy media. They never listen to a conservative media like Fox because they are told that they lie. They only hear Republicans are bad, Democrats are good. So they blindly put their allegiance behind the Democrats with little information. Very good point, Ken. Thank you. Good way to wrap up. Let's see here. One other one. Expect to hear more about Trump's age. It has already been suggested that he will end up like Biden. Yeah, they're going to push that hard towards the end for the next 60 plus days, because that's what they're talking about when they talk about the enthusiasm. That they're trying to say there's so much enthusiasm because it's a young, fresh face. Yeah, you're exactly right. When you say they, it's going to be Harris, Democrats, but it's also going to be the media, of course. Adam B. Coleman has a really good piece at the New York Post. We're not going to have a chance to get to all of it, but it says, I was a Trump hater until I learned the truth of the media's very fine lies. The truth shall set us free from the bondage that lies oppress upon us. I became a free man once I understood the truth of what our mainstream media is, rather than the front it hides behind. Journalistic professionals has been suspended, and now it's unabashed bias as outlets propagandize for one particular political party to the detriment of the truth. And if they're not lying about their adversaries to sway public perception, they're conspiring to glorify their friends in D.C. as sinless political deities. Kamala Harris is the media's deity of the moment, constantly praised for not being either Joe Biden or Donald Trump, and receiving 66% more coverage than Trump from major media outlets, even though she didn't do any interviews. Think about that. And an incredible 84% of that coverage has been positive. Meanwhile, our supposedly fair media lambasts Trump with negative coverage 89% of the time. the Washington Examiner reports, and continues to perpetrate long debunked falsehoods about him alongside the Democrat Party. It's a great piece. You can find out more at the New York Post, but we are out of time. Oh, by the way, the Post editorial board says the Arlington incident, which the media is running with, shows the media falling into the same old Trump derangement syndrome. Get ready. It's going to be nonstop from here until November. The media has not changed, but voters have. They stopped believing the blindly sourced conspiracies and the vaunted claims about broken norms, and journalists have only themselves to blame. Scott Jennings said the Democrats are craven for trying to turn Trump's Arlington trip into political garbage attacks. Well, that does it for today. Have a great Labor Day, folks. We'll be back on Tuesday, and we'll have a lot to cover, so you won't want to miss it, starting at 6 a.m. every weekday morning, except for Monday. This Monday. But normally every weekday morning. Starting at 6 with Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV, Big Fox. We will see you bright and early Tuesday morning. I look forward to it already.
I don't want to miss it because it's from 9 to 10, so I don't want to.
Oh, yeah, so you don't really have a huge
Yeah,
window.
so I don't have like a big window, and I'm talking to